Amazing turnaround. My daughter-in-law revealed her parents were moving and then I discovered the. Tom Johnson was a man of simple roots and straightforward values. A rugged mechanic from a tight-knit Midwestern suburb, he believed in the American dream. He worked hard, spent weekends grilling with his family, and took genuine pride in his role as a father. When his son Jason married Maya, Tom felt a flood of hope for the future. She was ambitious, and her immigrant parents had sacrificed everything for her education and dreams. They embodied resilience, something Tom had always admired but never fully embraced. That all changed when Maya delivered the news her parents were moving in. The walls of his comfortable home suddenly felt like they were closing in. The word family now encompassed strangers, and Tom bristled at the thought. He felt a tightening in his chest. How could he fit them into his orderly life? Maya's father arrived first, bustling with pride and an eagerness to lend a hand. Tom felt the air grow thick as they shook hands. Their eyes met, each man sizing up the other, armed with their values, each clashing with every word that followed. Tom's expectations clashed with cultural differences. He couldn't help but feel the shift in the family dynamics he had meticulously built. Days turned into weeks. Laughter faded, replaced by an uncomfortable silence that echoed through the hallways of their home. Tom noticed his wife, Linda, trying to make peace, but every effort felt strained. The cheerful chaos of the family dinners had turned weary and tense. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, just when it seemed like the weight was too heavy to bear, a health crisis struck. Maya's father, once so full of life, collapsed during dinner. The rush to the hospital was frantic, heart pounding with dread. As they waited for news, Tom found himself drawn closer to Maya's parents. The fear in their eyes began to collapse the walls he had built. In those tense moments, something remarkable happened. Tom listened as they shared their story of hardship, bravery, and sacrifice. He heard about their journey, about leaving everything behind for a glimmer of hope in a new land. Each tale cut deeper than he expected, revealing shared struggles he had faced as a veteran. Amidst the chaos, Tom discovered an unexpected bond, a sense of understanding he never knew he needed. As he held on to Maya's hand and listened to her parents recount their experiences, he began to see the threads that tied them together. His biases started to crumble, slowly unveiling a shared humanity he had overlooked. But just when it seemed Tom might fully embrace this new family, a startling revelation about his own lineage shattered his world. What he believed about his own identity was now in question. The insecurity stirred in him like an avalanche, and he faced a battle of redefining what family truly meant. In that moment of realization, Tom had to confront the essence of connection and acceptance. Could he reconcile these newfound truths while still protecting the family he loved? As uncertainty loomed in the air, a question floated through Tom's mind: was it possible to blend their worlds together, despite the odds? The hospital room was sterile and bright, the smell of antiseptics mingling with the tension in the air. Tom paced, fighting back waves of worry. Maya sat beside him, whispering words of comfort to her mother, who clutched her father's hand, eyes welling with tears. His heart ached witnessing their pain, their fear mirroring his own. It felt surreal watching this strong man, once vibrant and filled with stories, lying unconscious. Hours passed like days. Each nurse who entered brought with them both hope and dread. Tom couldn't shake the feeling of impending loss. He had only just begun to understand this family, and now, they were dangling on the edge of grief. It compounded his confusion about identity. Who was he to these people? A father-in-law? An intruder? Suddenly, the doctor entered. The gravity of her expression sent a chill through the room. "We found a blockage," she said. "Your father will need surgery." The words hung heavy in the air. Relief mingled with anxiety. Would this man pull through? In the chaos of emotions, Tom noticed something. Maya's mother, Maria, was broken but resolute. She squeezed Tom's arm, pulling him into her world of worry, seeking strength in solidarity. In that moment, an unexpected warmth spread through Tom's chest. He realized this wasn't just Maya's family, they were also his. He felt a shift within him, a distance closing. Engaging with Maria seemed simple enough now. "We'll get through this," he said, his voice steady and firm, surprising even himself. After the surgery, as the family gathered in the waiting room, Tom stepped aside briefly to catch his breath. He leaned against the wall, eyes closed, lost in thought. Identity loomed large, like an unanswered question hanging in front of him. Unsure of what to do next, he felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Angela, Maya's sister, who had arrived to support her family. "Dad's going to be fine," she said, a reassuring smile breaking through. "He's a fighter." Tom nodded but remained quiet. Angela continued, "You took care of us when we needed someone. Thank you for that." The sincerity in her words struck him hard. It was like a door finally cracked open, revealing warmth behind it. As he stepped back into the room, laughter erupted around him. Maya had shared a silly story from their childhood about her father's love for dancing, and everyone was smiling. Tom felt himself pulled into the laughter. It felt good. Maria looked at him, a glimmer of understanding in her eyes. They were starting to bridge the gap. In that laughter floated a sense of hope, knowing that life could still be bright amid uncertainties. Tom glanced at his family, realizing that he was part of something larger now. Yet, as the joy swelled inside him, the nagging questions remained. When they finally got their father back to a stable state, the family began to discuss how they would support him in recovery. It hit Tom that he was being invited to contribute, to fully step into the role of a father figure and a bridge between the two families. But with this transformation came a deeper concern. Could he truly embrace his new identity while still grappling with the revelations about his own background? Just as he thought he could navigate these new waters, a voice echoed in his mind, his mother's words about family heritage, those bones of contention. As they left the hospital, Tom felt a mix of optimism and dread. He knew the true challenge lay ahead. How would he face the truths that still lurked within him? Could he really build a genuine bond with Maya's family while reconciling his own past? The clarity he sought would not come easily. Still, he took a deep breath. Changes were brewing within, but he felt ready to confront them. As they arrived home, he could only wonder what awaited him when the walls of his understanding came crashing down. The following days passed in a blur of activity and an undercurrent of anxiety. Tom found himself settling into a routine he never anticipated. He joined Maya and Maria in planning for her father's recovery, shopping for groceries, organizing medication schedules, and even cooking. Every action felt both grounding and chaotic, a mix of new beginnings intertwined with the shadows of his past. One evening, after rehashing details of her father's meal preferences for the umpteenth time, Maya walked into the kitchen as Tom was stirring a pot of chicken soup. Her face was lit with an idea, a spark that ignited something in the air. "Hey," she said softly, leaning against the counter. "What if we have a family dinner? Something to celebrate Dad's recovery. It'll lift everyone's spirits." Tom paused, soup spoon hovering above the pot. A family dinner? The thought made his heart race with possibilities. He could imagine laughter and the comforting hum of conversations swirling around a table. Yet, it also struck him with an unease that echoed his past. Would he really fit in as part of this family gathering? "What do you think?" Maya pressed on, noticing his hesitation. "I think that sounds wonderful," he replied, trying to infuse his voice with certainty, even if doubt lingered in his heart. "But we'll need to plan it carefully. It should be special." As the night unfolded, Tom threw himself into planning the dinner. They decided on a date, and he became the self-appointed head chef, convinced that the right meal would somehow solidify his place among them. But beneath his excitement, there was a looming worry gnawing at him. What if his efforts fell short? The night of the dinner arrived, and the atmosphere bubbled with warmth. Tom set the table, carefully placing each dish. The clinking of glasses, the blending of different voices. Maya's laughter rose above the rest, filling every corner of the room. He watched Maria and Angela, their smiles vibrant against the backdrop of lighting that flickered like stars in the dimmed dining room. Yet, there was still an ache in Tom's chest. Despite the laughter, he felt like an outsider at times, separated by the silence that followed unspoken words. As everyone gathered in the living room after dinner, Maya's father, now clearly out of the fog of recovery, looked around with a mix of affection and confusion. "I'm grateful to have all of you here," he said, his voice slow but genuine. "It's been a tough time, but I feel blessed. Tom," he turned his gaze directly to Tom, "thank you for being here. It's a strange time, but I can see how much you care." Tom's heart raced. The direct acknowledgement cut through the tension in his mind. He felt a burst of warmth, a flicker of belonging. But before he could respond, the doorbell rang. Maya jumped up to answer it, returning moments later not just with a visitor, but a wave of confusion. This is my mom's sister, Aunt Lila," she announced, ushering her in. Lila stepped through, an air of excitement around her. "I heard we were having a celebration." Another layer to the family dynamic, Tom realized, a new person who brought with her questions and admiration. "Hi, Tom. I've heard so much about you," Aunt Lila exclaimed, and Tom felt both flattered and wary. Everyone's eyes turned to him. Here stood a chance for connection, or for spiraling back into isolation. He managed a smile, but the walls of his understanding shook again. How much more could he take? Would it ever feel like he fully belonged? As the evening broke in laughter and stories, Tom's heart remained conflicted. Would he ever truly feel part of this family? Or was he just a guest playing a role, waiting for the curtain to drop? The question lingered, heavy yet unaddressed, as Tom leaned back and took a deep breath. What awaited him next? Would newfound family turn into newfound fears? As the laughter echoed around him, Tom felt like he was floating in a crowd while tethered to a distant shore. The room vibrated with life, but he was still grappling with his own doubts, wrestling with the unsureness that wrapped around his heart. Aunt Lila's presence transformed what had felt like a small family circle into a grand display of connections he wasn't yet ready to navigate. "So, how does it feel to be joining our chaotic family, Tom?" Lila asked as she settled into a chair, her tone teasing but her eyes warm. Tom hesitated, the laughter around him fading to a muted echo. It's different," he started, his throat tightening. "In a good way, I think." "Good way?" That's an understatement. "We're loud and unpredictable, but we love hard." Lila chuckled, and the room filled with another wave of laughter. It wasn't so much an invitation to stay at the table, but an unmistakable challenge to engage more deeply. Tom swallowed hard. Could he really immerse himself in this vibrant family tapestry? Would sharing his own story invite acceptance or push him further away? Lost in his thoughts, he barely noticed when Maya slipped back into the conversation, perhaps sensing the shift in his mood. With a comforting touch on his shoulder, she turned to him. "Hey, what do you think about sharing a family memory? It might help break the ice." The suggestion hung in the air, making Tom's heart ricochet in his chest. He knew where he stood. The edges of his past were jagged and raw. There was the worry, how much would he lay bare? Suddenly, the room turned curious, eyes searching for his response. It felt as if the world stopped, the chatter softening around him. Should he give them a glimpse of him? Would it bring them closer or shatter the fragile connection he had only just begun to feel? Taking a deep breath, he dove in. "When I was a kid, my mom used to host these big barbecues in the summer. She'd make this amazing potato salad, and all our neighbors would come over. It was loud and messy, but it was the best kind of chaotic." Lila chimed in, "And funny. Did you have any embarrassing moments?" Tom chuckled at the memory. "Oh, plenty. Once my dog jumped on the table and knocked over the entire dessert platter right before we served it." The laughter that ensued was contagious. In that moment, Tom saw in their eyes a flicker of understanding and acceptance. It felt like a bridge being strengthened, a piece of his heart inching closer to belonging. As stories flowed between them, the table grew warm with familiarity. Yet a heaviness lingered in the back of Tom's mind. Would they still accept him if they knew the full truth? The darker shadows of his past brushed against the edges of his lighter moments, threatening to pull him back. Maya caught his eye, her smile radiant and encouraging. As her family continued to weave laughter and connection around him, Tom realized he was at a crossroads. Could he let go of the fears that haunted him and embrace this newfound warmth? Or would the shadows pull him back to a familiarity he thought he'd escaped? As the laughter swelled around him, Tom felt a small flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the start of something new, a family, a connection, a second chance. But what came next? Would he summon the strength to share the truth that loomed like a cloud, or risk losing everything he desperately wanted? The night wore on, and as the warmth enveloped him, Tom couldn't shake the question that echoed deep inside. What would happen when the past finally caught up with him? Tom sat quietly, the warmth of laughter still wrapping around him like a soft blanket, but anxiety prickled in the back of his mind. As much as he wanted to bask in this newfound connection, the shadows of his past loomed large. Could he share his truth without scaring them away? Just then, Lila stood, her voice booming over the crowd. "All right. Who's up for a game of charades? We need some action." The room erupted into cheers, and for a moment, Tom felt the heat of excitement. He loved games, especially in a group. It was easy to join in without feeling like he stood out, an outsider looking in. He glanced at Maya, whose eager expression mirrored the anticipation in the room. That glow reminded him of home. Maybe he could let his guard down, just this once. As the game kicked off, Tom found himself lost in a flurry of animated gestures and misinterpreted clues. Laughter filled the air as family members jumped up and down, their competitiveness mixing with joy. With each charade, Tom felt a bit of his tension melt away. Maya's laughter was infectious, and it made him feel lighter, like he was floating on that distant shore, connecting piece by piece to the family awaiting him. Even when he fumbled through his turn, mimicking a ridiculous chicken while Lila howled with laughter, he felt himself loosening up, forgetting the shadows lurking behind his past. The game continued, but the sense of impending dread didn't leave. It lurked like a dark cloud, waiting to rain on this parade of happiness. Moments later, they settled back into their seats, breathless and beaming. But the revelry was cut short when Lila's jovial tone turned serious. "Tom," she said, her gaze piercing. "We want to get to know you better. What was your family like?" The air shifted. Silence fell, and Tom's heart raced. Here it was, the moment of truth. He felt the enormity of their gaze, searching for something deeper, something he wasn't sure he could share yet. For an instant, he considered retreating into humor, deflecting with another embarrassing story. But then he saw the encouragement in Maya's eyes. She offered him a silent nudge. He knew he could trust her, she had been his anchor since the day they met. I had a complicated upbringing," he began, his voice wavered slightly. "My family wasn't anything like this." Tom's words spilled out, memories flooding back. "My dad wasn't around much. He worked late, and when he was home, it was hard to feel like a family. My mom, she tried though. We had our good moments." Her laughter filled our small apartment. "But there were dark times too." He paused, feeling the tension weave itself around every unspoken word, weighing heavily on his heart. Could they handle the truth? A part of him wanted to run, to escape the vulnerability that left him exposed. But the warmth around the table urged him on. Maybe here, he could be seen. Before he could stop himself, he continued, "I don't want pity. Just understanding. I've been trying to break free from that." The silence that followed felt thick. He searched their faces, looking for signs of rejection but found only curiosity and compassion. This felt different from his past, where exposure meant judgment. Then Lila, with all her warmth, spoke softly. "Tom, we all have our baggage. The measure of family is in the acceptance we offer each other. You're not alone here." Tom's heart swelled at her words, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Maybe he could belong. Maybe he could shed the burden he carried for so long. As the swirling connection pulled at him, Tom felt lighter, freer. But the shadows still loomed, whispering doubts that wouldn't he relent just yet. Would he truly find a place among them? Or would the remnants of his past rise up once again, threatening to unravel everything he was finally starting to stitch together? The night stretched on, laughter bubbling back to life. Yet the deeper question remained, lingering in the charged air. How far could he go towards embracing this family before the truth caught up and tore him apart? Maya leaned in closer, her vibrant smile lighting up the dim light of the room. You're already part of us, Tom. We can talk about the tough stuff later if you want, but right now, let's keep the fun going. Her sincerity washed over him like a gentle wave, compelling him to relax just a bit more. He caught himself smiling back, appreciating the simplicity of being accepted. A small voice inside him, the one that often critiqued and judged, whispered that he didn't deserve this. Yet, the louder voices in the room said otherwise. All right, who's ready for round 2? Lila jumped in, her enthusiasm infectious. This time, no holding back. Let us see those serious acting skills. Tom, you're starting. Before he could protest or feel fear rise again, everyone already called out suggestions for him, the words blending into a light-hearted buzz. The energy lifted him, grounding him in the present moment. Tom took a deep breath, focusing on the laughter, the bright eyes of his newfound family. He stepped into the spotlight, imitating a famous movie scene, exaggerated arm movements and all. The room erupted into laughter again, and even he couldn't help but chime in, releasing the last remnants of doubt that clung to him like shadows. Their faces, alight with happiness, shifted something deep within him. He found joy in their joy. He was seeing and being seen, two halves coming together to form something whole. As the night wore on, secrets slowly unfurled, the shared memories, silly childhood anecdotes, and the occasional hiccup that came with family life. Everyone contributed, making him feel like he was being woven into a tapestry of their shared lives, each thread vibrant and necessary. Eventually, it was Maya's turn. She hesitated for just a second, glancing at Tom as if inviting him into her own world. I'll show you a scene from my favorite childhood movie, she declared, jumping up enthusiastically. Her performance was full of whimsy and creativity, the kind of unguarded charm that sparkled in the air. Tom watched with rapt attention, captivated by the ease with which she seemed to connect with everyone around her. Yet in that moment, he also noticed the brief flickers of uncertainty that danced across her face when the spotlight turned away. It was a reminder that everyone carried their burdens, even those who wore smiles. Once she finished, everyone applauded, calling out how great she was. Maya left the stage with a satisfied grin, and Tom felt a deep admiration for her resilience. You're amazing, he whispered, feeling a comforting rush of warmth. Seriously. Thanks, she replied softly, cheeks flushed. I guess we all just want to be accepted, huh? There it was again. Acceptance. Like a soft blanket wrapping around him, urging him to peel back his layers further. Suddenly, Lila cleared her throat, beckoning attention back to her. You know, she said, her tone lighter with a hint of mischief, I think we need to share some secrets. What do you all say? Maybe something silly or embarrassing. It'll really help to break down walls. Tom hesitated, unsure about exposing any more of himself. But a part of him felt ready, if only to contribute more to the connection growing around them. This might just be the moment where he could let go, fully. As stories started flying around, laughter burst as participants spilled their childish secrets, falling off bicycles, the time Lila wore shoes 2 sizes too big, the first crush that ended in utter embarrassment. Each revelation was a brick removed from the wall he'd built around himself. But deep down, would his own tales of heartache and struggle draw him closer, or push them away? He felt a twinge of fear as each story was shared, and the pressure to reveal his own loomed more significant than ever. In that split second, so many possibilities raced through his head. What would they think when they finally learned the truth about his past? Would humor still have a place when they understood his reality? Tom looked around the room, seeing the faces of those who had welcomed him, and the shadows. Felt just a little less imposing. Maybe he was ready to take that leap after all. And in that moment of deliberation, Maya met his gaze, her eyes full of encouragement. "You're one of us, Tom," she softly reassured him. With deep breaths, he took a step closer towards the warmth of his new family. What if he could finally share the parts he had hidden for so long? The truth was waiting, and the moment felt almost right. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, a phone buzzed, interrupting the charged air. Lila glanced at her screen, her expression shifting abruptly. "Oh no, no way," she murmured. "This can't be happening." A ripple of confusion moved through the group, eyes flitting between Lila and Tom. What news could be so jarring? As the question hung heavily in the air, Tom could feel the familiar threads of anxiety tightening around him again. Would this news sway everything he was beginning to piece together? The evening was not done revealing its surprises yet, and as Tom braced himself, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Lila stared at her phone, her brow furrowing deeper by the second. "You guys, this is bad," she finally said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's about the community center. They're closing it down." Silence fell like a blanket, heavy and suffocating. The sound of laughter faded from the air, replaced by the muted realization of what that meant. Tom felt a knot twist inside him. The center had been a lifeline for so many, a place where connections were made, dreams were chased, and reunions happened. How can they do that? Maya's voice cut through the tension with sharp disbelief. "It's part of who we are." Tom shifted, feeling the familiar weight of unease. He had only just begun to feel that belonging, and now it seemed that this precious space might be stripped away from them. He glanced around, seeing how the news landed differently with everyone. For some, it stirred anger, for others, quiet resignation. "I can't believe this," Lila continued, pacing like a caged animal. "This place is everything. We have to fight this." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Tom sat back, processing everything. These friends, his friends, had made him feel at home, and now they clearly depended on one another in ways he hadn't considered before. The warmth that had filled the room moments ago had dimmed into something heavy and uncertain. Within him, something stirred. The thought of losing this space they collectively nourished felt too significant to ignore. He cleared his throat, the weight settling not just on him but within the group, too. "Maybe we could organize a petition or hold a community meeting," he suggested, his voice clearer than he initially felt. Eyes turned toward him, a glimmer of hope in their features amidst the shock. "That's a great idea," Lila said, visibly thawing from her agitation. "We could rally people together. Show them the center is important." Maya leaned forward, her excitement resurfacing. "If we can get enough people to support us, we could make a real impact." It was in that moment that the spark ignited. Tom could see determination replacing the fear that had momentarily gripped them. His heart began to speed up, feeling their energy push against the worry that had gripped him. Could they really fight back? The opportunity to band together, to stand for something, began to drown out his doubts. "I'm in," he said tentatively. "I'll help however I can." Maya turned to him, her eyes brightening. "Yes. We all will. Together." The energy in the room shifted again, charging with a purpose that had not been there just moments before. They began to brainstorm ideas, each suggestion igniting the last, their voices intertwining as they shared thoughts, laughter punctuating the seriousness of the conversation. It felt exhilarating, and Tom began to feel less like an outsider looking in and more like a vital part of this new mission. Yet as they delved deeper into their plans, Tom felt the weight of his own secret clawing at the back of his mind. Amid these conversations of fighting for the community center, he couldn't help but think about how sharing his own struggles could weave even tighter bonds with those around him. But the trepidation loomed large. He pushed it aside for now, focusing instead on the path ahead, fueled by the purpose newly ignited. "So, what is step one?" he asked, his energy aligning with theirs. Let us do a community meeting this weekend. Lila shouted, her excitement infectious. Yes. Get everyone involved. Maya added, her grin wider than ever. As they rallied around one another, Tom wished for a moment that he could carry this momentum forward, but a lingering doubt gnawed at him. Would they still be accepting if they truly knew him? But before he could dwell on those thoughts, Lila interrupted, Tom, can you find people we know in the community who might want to help? Maybe spread the word? The light in her eyes was hopeful, inviting him in once again. He nodded, feeling the rush of belonging swell up again. I can do that. Yet as Tom settled into the rhythm of planning, an uneasy feeling crept back. The shadows from earlier settled around him once again, threatening to choke out the light. Could he truly be a part of this? As excitement buzzed through the room, Tom caught Maya's gaze one more time, seeking solace in the warmth he found there. He held on to that connection tightly, but doubts nagged at him still. Would his truth dim the brightness that surrounded him now? The familiar vibration of his own phone buzzed in his pocket, stealing his attention. As he glanced down, blood rushed from his face. It was a message from his past, and the moment of truth beckoned him like a stubborn whisper. No, he murmured, gripping the phone tightly. Tom? What's wrong? Maya asked, concern etched in her features, clearly sensing his shift. With the weight of the world on his shoulders, he felt the moment crystallize. The truth was brewing, and with it came the potential for everything to shatter or heal. Something just came up, he said, struggling internally. Would he share it all, or could he hide once again? As he looked up, the atmosphere shifted, filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Tom couldn't help but ponder, as the first inklings of panic bubbled up, what if this moment could finally change everything? Tom's heart raced as he stared at the screen, the vivid memories rushing back. The name glared at him like an urgent warning. The past he thought he'd put to rest tangled itself with the hope of a brighter future. He inhaled sharply, feeling the room close in around him. Tom? Maya's voice pierced through the fog, her concern only amplifying his turmoil. The laughter they had shared moments ago felt like a cruel joke now. Here he was, standing on the precipice of revealing who he really was, caught between the fear of losing their newly kindled unity and the desire for honesty. It's just a message from an old friend, he said, cringing at the lie. The words tasted bitter on his tongue. But Lila, instinctively sensing trouble, leaned in. Old friend? Is everything okay? He hesitated, glancing around at the faces he had grown to care for so deeply. They looked back at him, eyes full of concern, hoping he would open up. The weight of unspoken truths felt heavier, suffocating him. Would this break their newly formed bond? Would they understand? Instead of responding right away, he focused on the group's energy swirling with purpose and determination. What should we do for the community meeting? He asked, desperate to redirect the conversation away from him. Lila nodded, the concern melting into resolve. We need a big turnout. Flyers, social media, maybe even local businesses can help us spread the word. The spark of a plan ignited the air around them again. Yeah. Let us create a rallying cry, Maya added enthusiastically. We need a catchy slogan. Something that'll pull people in. As they brainstormed potential slogans and ideas, Tom's heart raced even faster. He joined in on the excitement, pushing his turmoil aside once more. How about save our space? He suggested, hoping the rhythm and fervor could drown out his fears. They echoed each idea back and forth, laughter spilling into the tense air like sunlight through heavy clouds. Yet, despite the excitement, Tom still felt his truth lurking in the shadows, whispering reminders of the struggles that made him feel less than the others around him. It was a bond that tied him to the community, but his darkness had always kept him at a distance. What if he couldn't escape those shadows this time? Maya caught him lost in thought again. Tom, you okay? You've gone quiet. He swallowed hard, a lump lodged in his throat. Yeah, just thinking. But then, a flash of defiance surged within him. Maybe it was time to tackle the shadows head-on instead of letting them dictate his path. Actually, there is something I need to tell you guys, he began, his voice wavering. The room fell silent, all eyes locking onto his, filled with concern and anticipation. It's about me. A heavy breath escaped his lips. This was the moment where everything could change. I haven't always been honest about why I moved back here, he exposed, vulnerability creeping in and laying bare his fears. I've faced some tough stuff in my life, stuff I don't fully want to get into yet, but I've been scared to share who I really am. Lila's face softened, and her hand reached for his. Tom, we're all about standing together. You don't have to carry this alone, she said, making him feel a glimmer of hope. His heart swelling, he could see that this was the moment he had waited for. As Tom hesitated on the brink of exposing everything, the phone buzzed again in his pocket. Hesitantly, he glanced down. It was a photo, and though he was loath to look, an inexplicable pull urged him. What if this connection could free him? Or would it unleash chaos into the very life he craved? Tom. Maya's voice felt miles away as panic edged back in. What was that? He opened the photo and his heart dropped. Staring back at him was something he never expected to see, something that could shatter everything he was just beginning to build. Guys, I think this may change everything, he stuttered, anxiety coiling around his gut. In that moment, they were all locked in worried anticipation, and he realized he was standing at another crossroads, one he couldn't back away from. Would the truth finally set him free or throw him back into darkness? The room was silent, filled with tension and possibility, and he knew he was on the brink of something monumental. Tom's eyes fell to the photo again, his breath hitching in his throat. The image felt like a punch straight to the gut. It was a picture of a familiar face, one he thought he'd buried along with the ghosts of his past. He recognized the sharp smile, the bright eyes that twinkled with mischief before everything fell apart. Tom. Lila's voice was cautious, sensing the sudden shift. What is it? He tried to shrug it off, but his mind raced ahead, left spinning. It's my sister, he finally managed to voice. What? Maya leaned in closer as if trying to read the unspoken tension in the air. She took a different path. One that led her away from us. I didn't think I'd ever see her again, he said, emotions cracking his carefully constructed mask. But she's reached out, and now I don't know what to do. The group sat back in shocked silence. Each face bore the weight of Tom's dilemma, glancing at each other as if trying to decipher the depths of a story that had brought them together. You need to talk to her. What does she want? Lila encouraged, her voice steady and reassuring. Maybe this is your chance. Tom felt a wave of hope, but it was quickly surging into doubt. I haven't seen her in years. What if I've changed too much? What if I've become someone she despises? That's just it, Maya chimed in, a softness in her eyes. It's been years, but you're not the same scared kid who left. You've grown and learned. You can decide who you want to be now. Tom took a few deep breaths, trying to digest what they were saying. Was it possible? Could this message lead to a reconnection he never thought he'd long for? Feeling the weight of the group's attention made his stomach flip. He looked at Lila, who nodded encouragingly. Then at Maya, who was holding her breath, waiting for him to decide. I just don't want to hurt anyone, he murmured, feeling the walls closing in again. What if I mess this up? You're already hurt. It's time to let someone in again. Maybe it's time you allow love back into your life, Lila said, her voice warm like a hug. Tom met her gaze, something inside him shifting. Each heartbeat felt like a little push. Maybe it was worth the risk to step into the unknown, even at the potential cost. With a heavy sigh, he pulled out his phone again, eyes fixated on that face, pulling at the threads of nostalgia, happiness, and regret. There was a pang of nostalgia mixed with fear, the kind that whispered doubts into his mind. He clicked on the message thread warily, reading her words again. Tom, we need to talk. I'm back in town, and I want to meet. His fingers trembled, hovering over the keyboard before finally typing back. When? A rush of anxiety mixed with something lighter filled him. He pressed send and felt the weight drop just a little. Is everything okay? Maya asked again, biting her lip with anticipation. Tom offered a small nod. I think I'm about to find out who I really am. And just like that, a weight began to lift off his chest. It's like the decision to embrace possibility outweighed the fear of what could happen next. But before he could fully embrace the shift within, his phone buzzed alive again with a response. He flicked his gaze back, and this time it felt different. As he read the words on the screen, his heart sank. There it was, his sister's message. I'm not just back for a visit. I'm here to stay. We need to talk about Mom and Dad. There are things you don't know. Suddenly, the small flicker of hope went dim. Tom felt trapped once again in the whirlwind of daunting revelations. What truths lay dormant beneath the surface? As his mind spiraled, Tom recognized he had a decision to make. Would he dive into this emotional upheaval and face the family he thought he'd left behind, or retreat into the safety of the life he recently found? The room felt suffocating, yet their concerned faces buoyed him with a flicker of support. Just then, Maya reached out to touch his arm gently. You've got this, Tom. As he looked at her, wondering if he actually did, he knew the upcoming conversation would either bury him deeper or set him free. What awaited him on the other side of this family reunion? Would the truth offer him closure or open old wounds? Tom's heart raced as he read the message over and over, feeling the weight of his sister's words settle over him like a heavy blanket. We need to talk about Mom and Dad. There are things you don't know. Each line pulled him deeper into a past he thought he had left behind, a past that was now clawing its way back into his present. But the warmth of the room, the faces of his newfound family surrounding him, offered a glimmer of hope that had been absent before. They felt like a lifeline amidst the chaos unfolding within him. Are you okay? Maya asked gently, her concern palpable. You don't have to go through this alone. He looked at her, feeling the sincerity in her eyes. Suddenly, it didn't feel as daunting as it had moments ago. Yes, uncertainties loomed, but this family had welcomed him with open arms, and maybe they could help him navigate this too. I just got a message from my sister. She's back in town, not just visiting. She wants to talk, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper yet heavy with emotion. Lila leaned forward, her blue eyes glimmering with understanding. This could be a chance for reconciliation, she said softly. You were supposed to go through this alone, but now you're not. You have us. As Tom processed her words, a rush of reassurance surged through him. Here he was, a man grappling with his past, sharing a space where love and acceptance were blooming. Couldn't this be the moment where he started building connections, not only with Maya's parents but with his own past? Maybe I should meet her, he said, the thought feeble at first. But what if it just opens more wounds? You deserve to know the truth about your family. Going back doesn't mean you have to withhold the truth from us, Maya reassured him, her voice firm yet gentle. If you need to face the past, we'll be right here with you. Tom took a deep breath, his heart picking up the pace again, but for different reasons this time. He felt a kernel of courage replace the fear that had overwhelmed him. There was something powerful in the prospect of unraveling the story buried within him. Perhaps it was time to confront it head-on. Okay, he nodded slowly, feeling steadier with each word. I'll reply. I need to know. The decision hung in the air, palpable and heavy with anticipation. As he hit send on a response, the rest of the group felt the tense energy shift towards something brighter. Each heartbeat pulled them closer, and he could feel their support echoing within him. Each promise of acceptance solidified the bond he had begun to forge, a bond that felt strong enough to embrace both the light and the dark. Let us make a plan for this community meeting, Lila suggested, instantly transitioning the mood back to action. Your sister can wait while we show the town what we're made of. Tom joined in the laughter that bubbled up, buoyed forward by their enthusiasm. Yes. We'll show them just how much this center means to us. Their voices melded in a chorus of excitement, filling the room with warmth and energy. As they turned their focus back to the meeting, Tom felt grateful for the unexpected turn his night had taken. Each idea shared, every joke cracked, helped him breathe into his complexities. The shadows of his past loomed less heavy now, quietly receding as a newfound strength took their place. After an hour of ideas and laughter shared around the table, Maya's father, who had been listening attentively, chimed in. "You're building a new family here, Tom. The love we pour into these projects is only a reflection of how much we care for one another." Those words wrapped around Tom like a warm hug, reverberating with truth. Perhaps this was all a part of a greater design, interweaving his past with this new life. With fresh resolve, he became more committed than ever to intertwining both worlds: his family history and this new family he had found in housing, sharing laughter, and resonating through uncertainties. As the night drew to a close, Tom took stock of the connections he had nurtured, the bonds that would only grow stronger as they worked together. He saw the silent stories on each face, intertwined by shared experiences. In that moment, he realized he was no longer just a visitor in this new family. He had become a vital thread in the tapestry of their collective stories. The past was still there, waiting to be faced, but now he felt prepared to walk toward it. With the support of those he cherished, the echoes of the truth no longer felt daunting, they felt liberating. As they wrapped up plans for the community meeting, Tom looked around, smiling at each face illuminated by hope and determination. This was family, fragile, messy, yet beautiful, a reflection of life itself. And through it all, he felt the first flicker of peace settled in his heart, proof that transformation was always possible when surrounded by love and understanding. Tom held on to that thought as they stepped into the new day, ready to face whatever came next. Because now, he had a family ready to share every victory and heartbreak. The journey ahead was intertwined with hope and laughter, and that made all the difference. If you haven't already, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. I want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. This community thrives on the connections we build together.